30 cents as of right now. When it comes to VeChain's primary native token called VET, it's around a 17x from here, which at first glance, it may not sound that good, even though nothing I say is financial advice. But the way you take a look at it is that if my intention is a dollar cost average and the price is, quote unquote, relatively speaking, pretty low, I don't know why I'd complain about that. Again, if my intention is a dollar cost average, now do I want low prices forever? Absolutely not. But, when it comes to the purpose of dollar cost averaging, it's not something I would necessarily complain about. Now, when it comes to this, though, sometimes you like to say, oh, wow, VET hasn't really proven anything as of late. Take a look at what it did back in 2021, but look at what it is as of right now. But my response is this. Yeah, sure, we kind of haven't seen that sort of 2021's type of brilliance as of late, but we haven't seen, I think, an altcoin season during this cycle. But even besides that, we take a look at the market cap when it comes to VET. Literally back in December of 2024, so that was less than a year ago, right? The market cap was over 5 billion slightly. The market cap right now, when it comes to VET, is hovering around that $1.5 billion range. So less than half a year ago, the market cap was over 3 times this, what we have right now. Again, VET just going back to what it did back in December, and that's already over 3x in terms of market cap. And now some people may be thinking, oh, who cares about, over 3x? Well, let's think about this. In order for Bitcoin to do over 3x from where it is as of right now, despite the pullback, it would have to be above 300 grand. You know what I mean? In order for Ethereum to do that, it would have to be over 10 grand. Again, let's say hypothetically over 3x from right now. So again, even though me saying that right there, it kind of showcases how, VET has not been doing the best, but at the same time as well, it's just like doing over 3x, it doesn't even seem like that ridiculous of a thing. We just recently saw it less than a year ago. But even besides that, it doesn't mean it will happen. Again, only time will tell. But when I take a look at, again, 30 cents, market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply would be around 26 billion. Again, around a 17x from here. The way I take a look at that is that if we take a look at around a $26 billion market cap, like we're talking about VeChain here, right? The VeChain Tor blockchain, ever since 2018, allegedly zero network outages. Also on top of that, VeChain is heavily focused on something called supply chain management. And sure, when it comes to supply chain management, it's not necessarily viewed as such a cool or interesting market, according to some people that I know out there. But then at the same time, when it comes to, let's say, a project that is focused on supply chain management, the number one thing I think about is VeChain within that space as of right now, in this current space, I should say. So I think VeChain has a good grasp on that market. Now, some people may be thinking, oh, VeChain is not doing too much. Well, we take a look at what it did with the UFC, right? We take a look at what it did with PowerSlap. We take a look at its historical partnerships that I've seen when it comes to PwC, or should I say PricewaterhouseCoopers, and as well as Deloitte. They are 2 out of the big 4 accounting firms. So we got to take a look at that, right? And also, historically, what we've seen when it comes to something like BMW, H&M. So when I take a look at VeChain, I like it fundamentally. It's just the price isn't necessarily doing the best. That's the way I take a look at it when it comes to VET. Now, people like to say, oh, that means the fundamentals became bad or something. Well, I don't really agree with that, actually, because I don't see what bad thing fundamentally happened to VeChain. It's like, for instance, we take a look at Algorand, right? Algorand is a layer 1 blockchain, and we take a look at Algo, its native token, it's not doing good. What bad thing happened to Algorand, right? That's just the way we take a look at it. Also, we take a look at Bitcoin's having a slight pullback. What bad thing fundamentally happened to it? I mean, the maximum supply is literally still 21 million. You know what I mean? It's just the space is not doing the best. And VET, when it comes to VeChain's primary native token, it's no stranger to that. It's also not doing the best as of right now. So it's nothing that necessarily kind of concerns me in the grand scheme of things. And I don't think I've seen an altcoin season actually during this cycle. This is the way I take a look at it. Sure, we saw VET do pretty okay back in December of 2024, less than a year ago. But then at the same time, I don't think that was an altcoin season. For me, if let's say there is even an altcoin season during the cycle, there's one thing I can do, and that is just stay patient, hold, and I just wait. Because sometimes you like to say, oh, when is there going to be an altcoin season? Like, I cannot know the exact moment in time that happens. Like, personally, I know sometimes people want me to pull up a price chart, draw a random triangle, draw a falling wedge pattern, and try to, make all these fancy drawings on the price chart. But literally, if I did that, do you think the market's going to care about that? Do you think the market's going to pay attention to that and say, oh, yeah, I guess it's time to do this or do that? No, it literally would not care. So why would I do that? If I just take the look at the price chart when it comes to VET purely, and let's say I didn't take a look at the fundamentals of VeChain, just solely the price chart when it comes to VET, I would personally just prefer Shiba Inu at that point because, again, if I'm just taking a look at the price chart, Shiba Inu is looking actually better, in the grand scheme of things. But then, of course, I'm glad I'm not only taking a look at the price charts because I just think about this. The VeChain Thor blockchain, VeChain's focus on supply chain management. And then we compare that to Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu, sure, it has Shibarium, which is basically layer 2. But that compared to the VeChain Thor blockchain, I mean, come on. You know what I mean? But again, I would actually much rather prefer VET over Shiba Inu just because I actually take a look at the fundamentals. I actually take a look at what it's doing. When it comes to something like, Shiba Inu, again, it's done very well, but then at the same time, I don't want to hold that over this. That's the way to take a look at it. And sure, when it comes to my portfolio, I also do hold some meme coins, but at the same time, when it comes to Shiba Inu, the market cap is just too massive. And personally for me, even despite the pullback, it is still very massive. And I also want some other projects too in my portfolio that have this kind of utility-driven aspect. And this is why I do like VeChain. I think it's pretty interesting. I think it's cool. I think it's fundamentally amazing. But this is, again, just my perspective. Now, I just want to kind of talk about real quick how when it comes to VeChain, there's also something called VTHO, which stands for VeChain Thor Energy, right? And that's basically kind of like the gas token, so to speak. But even besides that, VET, again, is the one I'm actually talking about in this video, which is the primary native token when it comes to VeChain. But besides that, I think also something that could be pretty interesting when it comes to VeChain moving forward is, Stargate, right? Stargate is this thing that was really talked about, but not really as much anymore because clearly the price of VET isn't doing the best, but we have to take a look at it, right? When it comes to Stargate, it supposedly introduces innovative staking and NFT features, hypothetically enhancing tokenomics, which could, in theory, I think help its ecosystem, right? When it comes to, let's say, just things surrounding VeChain. So overall, I like VeChain fundamentally. I actually think that fundamentals as of right now when it comes to VeChain is way better than back in 2021. But then it's just the price isn't necessarily doing the best. So I'm totally aware that, of course, even though fundamentals do improve, if the sentiment and if the altcoin space isn't doing the best, then clearly it's not really going to be showcased in terms of the sentiment when it comes to the fundamentals. So that is why I am literally staying patient. And that's about it. Whenever an altcoin season wants to start, that's beyond my control. I don't know, dollar cost averaging, holding, and just waiting. And that's pretty much about it. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain. And I hope you all have a nice day. I want to say thank you for watching, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.